Hello, friends. Tonight we step quietly into a world where time loosens its grip. Tonight, you are invited not just to hear a story, but to live inside one. A story older than kings, older than calendars, older than memory. You won't need a passport, only your breath, your stillness, and a little imagination. Let your body soften. Let your thoughts drift like desert wind. Then follow the gentle path ahead. You stand at the edge of the desert. The sun has long since gone to rest, but the moon is high, casting a soft silver glow over the endless sand. In front of you rises a structure that seems to breathe an open gate formed of ancient sandstone blocks, heavy with centuries. It doesn't shimmer, it doesn't call, and yet it waits. Silent, still, eternal. A gateway not just to a temple, but to something more. A moment, a feeling, a place in between. There are no signs, no guards, no tourists, just you, the wind, and that wide open door beneath the stars. You wonder how long it's been here. 100 years, 1,000, or maybe it just appeared for you tonight, carved by moonlight and memory. You step closer. The sand shifts softly beneath your feet, warm still, like it hasn't forgotten the sun. The stone gate is tall, impossibly so, etched with faded symbols that glint like tiny stars in the rock. A scarab beetle, wings outstretched, a lotus in bloom, the all-seeing eye of Horus. You don't know exactly what they mean, but you feel them meaning something. Not warnings, invitations. Your hand reaches out, almost without thinking, fingertips brushing against the warm surface. It's not cold or lifeless. It's like the stone has been waiting for a hand to hold. The air here feels like breath, gentle, expectant, ancient. You stand there for a long moment, held between the world you came from and the one waiting just beyond the gate. The wind rustles gently behind you, as if saying, "Go on, we'll be right here." And finally, you step forward. Beyond the gate, the desert disappears. The path becomes smoother, firmer underfoot. Stone tiles stretch before you, each one worn down by time, by bare feet, by ritual. The sound of the wind fades, replaced by a softer silence, the kind that holds the weight of memory. Not empty, never empty. This silence is filled with breath, stories, and something you can't quite name. You don't rush. You move the way one walks in dreams, or in sacred spaces, slowly, carefully. The pillars rise on either side of you, tall and silent and watching. They seem to lean in slightly, as if curious who you are. The moonlight finds its way between them in thin silver ribbons. You follow that light as it weaves across the floor, like it's drawing a map just for you. Deeper into the temple, shadows stretch long and soft. A single flame flickers ahead, then another. You realize they've been placed at intervals, guiding your steps. Oil lamps in simple clay bowls, still burning after all these years. Or maybe they've just been lit for tonight. For you, the air thickens slightly, no longer the dry openness of the desert. Here, it is fragrant, not strong, but present notes of myrrh, resin, earth. It smells like memory, like reverence, like home. You pause beneath an archway where the ceiling rises above you like the sky. It's painted, you realize. Faded now, but still visible deep blues, scattered stars, golden lines marking the constellations, the stars above and the stars within. You're walking beneath both. It's strange, isn't it? How still everything is, how quiet, and yet you don't feel alone. In fact, you feel more seen than you have in a long time. The walls don't speak, but they listen. The lamps don't flicker for attention, but they glow just enough for you to feel held. Even the floor seems to rise slightly with each step, like it wants to carry you forward. You smile, not because anything is funny, but because something inside you has started to soften. The mind quiets. The breath deepens. Whatever tension you carried in your shoulders at the gate, it's gone now, melted into the warm stone. You haven't learned anything new yet, but already you feel like you're remembering something. You reach a wide hall, and the ceiling disappears entirely. Moonlight pours down like a blessing, soft and silver and still. You stop and simply breathe. For a long moment, you let your chest rise and fall in rhythm with the space. You didn't realize how shallow your breathing had become out in the world. Here, it feels safe to breathe again, deeply, slowly. The stone beneath your feet is cool now, even smoother, polished by ages, maybe even blessed. You kneel slightly and press your palm to it. There's a faint warmth there, not hot, not glowing, just warm, like someone left love behind for you to find. Along the edges of the room, statues stand in patient stillness. They're not grand or towering, just life-sized, and somehow quietly kind. A woman with a lion's head and a lotus crown, a scribe kneeling with a reed pen, a falcon-winged guardian whose arms seem to cross over your heart. You don't know all their names, but you feel known by them. You walk slowly between them, your hand trailing along the edge of a low stone wall. Dust hasn't gathered here, or if it has, it's sacred dust, the kind that knows how to wait. The space wraps around you like a cloak. You feel yourself sinking into its rhythm, like water settling into a clay bowl. Above, the sky turns slightly violet, the deep kind of night that only happens in sacred places. You're not afraid of it. You welcome it. A single laugh escapes your lips. It surprises you a little, but it's not loud, not wrong, just soft and warm. After all, even in a temple, sometimes the heart bubbles up with a chuckle, even God's. You think, might smile now and then when the incense drifts just right. You keep walking, but you're no longer entering a temple. You're becoming part of it. And somewhere ahead, someone is waiting to meet you. The path before you widens, and as you walk, you notice how your steps make no sound, not even the soft scuff of your heel against stone. It's as if the floor itself has chosen to hush for you, to let your movement blend with the stillness of this sacred night. You glance downward and see the pale outlines of worn symbols beneath your feet, traces of travelers who came long before you, not tourists, not historians, seekers, perhaps dreamers, devotees. Somewhere in the distance, you hear a single bird call soft, brief, like a question drifting into a quiet room. You pause, tilting your head toward the sound. It doesn't repeat itself. The air thickens again, not with heat or cold, but with meaning. Even the smallest things here seem to have purpose. A gentle breeze slips across the hallway, nudging your robes, or maybe it's just your imagination conjuring fabric where there is none. Still, it feels like you're clothed in linen now, loose and warm, scented faintly with something herbal. The wind passes, and for a moment, you feel like a figure from a painting, a figure who stepped down from a wall to walk among shadows and candles. You move again, slower still, the stone cool underfoot. Each step feels like it matters, as if walking here isn't about getting anywhere, but remembering where you are. The floor has shifted slightly, no longer the harsh geometry of corridors, but the organic curve of something older, a sacred garden or a courtyard long forgotten by the sun. You lower your gaze to the stones. Some are cracked, others bear flecks of gold dust so fine you wonder if it's sand or starlight. You reach down and brush one with your fingers. It comes away soft, like flour, and yet it shimmers. A thought rises gently in your mind. Perhaps the stars above you are not only above, but beneath you too. As the corridor gives way to a colonnaded space, you stop in your tracks not from fear, but wonder. The ceiling is gone, not broken, not missing, just gone, open. The night sky stares down at you with the kind of clarity only desert places can offer. There's not a single cloud, just stars, and more stars, and more still. They are not scattered here. They are placed, arranged, measured. You feel it in your bones, above you. The constellation of Orion Osiris in the sky burns with a blue-white shimmer that feels almost too close. And beside him, the sacred river of stars, the Milky Way, winds its way across heaven like the Nile reborn. You tilt your face toward the sky, and something shifts within you, a remembering not of facts or names, but of feeling, as if some part of you has seen this before, not in pictures, not in dreams, in something older than that. You sit quietly on a low stone bench, letting your back rest, your muscles soften. You don't speak. There's no need. The sky does all the speaking here, each star a syllable, each flicker a gesture, and you, the listener, wide-eyed and still for a moment. You imagine the gods of the stars looking down, not with judgment, not with majesty, but with quiet, amused companionship. Perhaps they've seen 1,000 visitors sit here and gaze up, wondering, and yet they still show up, still sparkle, still whisper, as if to say, you made it, you're right on time. Your breath matches the tempo of the universe. Inhale as a star pulses, exhale as it fades. You let go a little more, far off. A bell rings once low, metallic and round, not as a warning, as a call. You rise again, guided not by urgency, but by instinct. You enter a courtyard with low walls and tall, elegant papyrus columns. The moonlight catches their carved fronds, casting delicate shadows onto the stone floor that ripple like reflections on water. There's no fountain, yet you hear the quiet trickle of something, perhaps water long dried, or perhaps your mind filling in the missing sounds of an oasis. In the center, a single sycamore tree stands, leaves shimmering silver in the moonlight. Its trunk is thick and scarred, ancient but graceful. You move toward it as if pulled. The earth around it is soft and dry, but not dusty. You crouch near the roots and place your hand on the ground. It is warm. Someone has left a small offering here, a bowl of dates, a folded cloth, a tiny statue of Bastet, the cat-headed goddess. You smile gently. There's no need to ask who left it. In a place where time folds inward, offerings don't need ownership. They're simply received. You sit beneath the tree and close your eyes. For a few long breaths, you forget you ever came from somewhere else. You feel the weight of the world recede. You are not dreaming. You are not performing a ritual. You are simply being, and being here is enough. A soft rustle stirs the branches above you. You look up, expecting wind, but there's none, just the leaves, swaying in rhythm with a song you can almost hear. It's not a melody, not exactly, more like a pulse, a wave of energy moving through the tree, through the earth, through you. You laugh again, but softer this time, as if sharing a secret with the roots. I get it, you whisper. Even the trees are part of the temple, and the temple, now, is becoming part of you. You leave the garden with one last glance at the sycamore, feeling as though you've just spoken with someone who didn't need words to understand you. Ahead, the corridor narrows again, drawing you inward. You don't resist. Your feet know the way, even if your mind has lost the map. Here, logic isn't the guide, rhythm is. Breath, sensation, trust. The air grows cooler, heavier, not in an oppressive way, but like walking through thick velvet. You arrive at a great chamber, rectangular and tall, its walls smooth and nearly bare. No torchlight, no moonlight, no frescoes, just the stone, just the quiet. And what a quiet it is. You pause on the threshold, unsure for a moment whether to step inside. But then your body shifts forward, pulled by something deeper than curiosity, an invitation too soft for sound. You take one step, then another, and the silence closes gently around you, not shutting you out, but pulling you deeper in. Here, silence isn't absence, it's presence, full and listening. You notice something curious. Your thoughts, those fast-moving inner monologues, those little worries that normally chatter like sparrows have slowed. You try to remember what you were thinking about before you entered. Grocery lists. Deadlines, they've scattered, like dust in sunlight. In the center of the chamber lies a circular platform, raised slightly above the stone floor. You walk toward it slowly. The only sound is the faint swish of your steps. And even that seems muffled, like the room prefers not to be disturbed. You sit cross-legged on the platform, spine tall but relaxed, hands resting lightly in your lap. The moment your body settles, the space seems to breathe with you. There is no sound, no movement, and yet this stillness feels alive, as though the chamber remembers every prayer ever whispered here, every tear, every vow, every moment of someone simply being. You are not the first, you will not be the last, but for now, you are here, and the silence has made room for you. The walls are not blank, not really. If you look closely, softer, slower, with the eyes you use in dreams, you begin to see the subtle impressions. Not carvings, not paint, something even older. Memory pressed into stone. You shift your gaze along one side of the chamber, and there, you begin to notice movement. Not physical motion, but the slow surfacing of shapes long faded. The curve of a jawline, the outline of a hand raised in offering, the soft form of a bird in flight. You blink once, then again, nothing disappears. The more you look, the more you feel. Each mark, each faint ripple of form, seems to pulse with a quiet knowing, not to show you a story, but to remind you of one you once knew. You lean forward slightly, brushing your fingers along the wall, and the stone greets you with warmth, not heat, just presence. You imagine someone centuries ago doing exactly what you're doing now, sitting in this same spot, looking into the same wall, listening for the same feeling. Perhaps they heard something too, perhaps not in words, but in understanding. Perhaps the stone speaks best to those who do not ask it to speak at all. You smile at that thought, and the chamber, strange as it sounds, feels like it smiles back. It's in the way the cool air rubs around your shoulders, like a shawl, the way the space holds you in its invisible arms, the way your heart doesn't beat louder or softer, just steadier. You have become part of the quiet. You are not in the room. The room is in you. You close your eyes and let yourself go, not into sleep, not quite, but into something softer, a liminal place between waking and dreaming, the kind of space where the mind loosens and the spirit stretches. Here, memories not your own begin to rise, like the scent of myrrh warmed in the sun. You see flashes of sandals brushing through temple dust, a child handing a fig to a priestess, a hand trading the outline of a sun disk carved into stone. The details are soft, faded, but the emotion is rich. This is what the silence remembers, not facts, but feelings. You inhale deeply, and the scent of earth and incense fills your lungs. You imagine the people who once knelt here. You wonder what they prayed for. Safety rain, forgiveness, or simply to feel seen. You exhale, long and low, and for a moment, it feels like the chamber exhales with you. Time loses meaning. Minutes stretch like linen. Hours fold into themselves like papyrus scrolls. The body grows heavier, but the heart feels light, somewhere in the quiet. You hear not with your ears, but your chest a rhythm. It's faint but steady, a pulse in the floor, a heartbeat in the wall, and then, for just a second, you feel it in your own body, the same pulse, the same beat, not a vision, not a miracle, just resonance. You are not dreaming, you are remembering, and the silence ancient and sacred remembers with you. You leave the hall of silence like someone stepping out of a warm bath cleaner. Somehow, inside more than out. The silence doesn't leave you. It follows softly, as if woven into your breath now. The corridor ahead glows gently, lit not by the moon, but by flickering candles tucked into shallow alcoves carved into the temple walls. Their flames lean slightly in the direction you're walking, like they, too, know where you're meant to go. As your eyes adjust, you begin to see the space more clearly. The stone takes on a golden hue beneath the candlelight, soft and amber, like honey warmed by fire. Your shadow follows you patiently, stretching long behind you, sometimes ahead, depending on the curve of the wall. It doesn't feel eerie. It feels like a companion, quiet, loyal, and content to stay just close enough. You find yourself smiling at the simple beauty of it. The candlelight flickers as if giggling softly in response. Even ancient walls, it seems, can be playful, eventually. The corridor opens into a rounded chamber, dome-shaped, like the inside of a lantern. The floor slopes gently upward, drawing your eyes to the center, where a large stone basin rests, filled not with water, but with smooth black sand. Candles ring it like a halo, their tiny flames steady, even in the open air. You step closer and gaze down at the sand. It glitters faintly, as if bits of stars have fallen into it and forgotten their way home. You don't need to touch it to know it's warm. Around the chamber, the walls come alive with relief carvings, soft-edged and low. They don't announce themselves. They don't demand to be seen. But as the candlelight dances, you begin to notice them, gods and goddesses, not in grand poses of power, but seated, relaxed, smiling, some with eyes closed as if meditating, others reaching out with open hands, not in command, but in welcome. You take a deep breath and feel your chest loosen again. This is not a room of worship in the way you imagined. It's not filled with awe or fear. It's filled with presence. This chamber was made not to humble you, but to hold you. You walk slowly around the room, each step quiet, your feet remembering the rhythm of the stone. Your fingers trail just above the carvings, not touching, but close enough to feel their energy. The figures etched into the wall seem almost alive, not because they move, but because they mean something without needing to be explained. You pause in front of one scene. A woman sits beneath a palm tree, her hands extended to a small child, offering her a bundle of grapes. You look closely and see the woman wears a headdress with a sun disk cradled by cow horns, Hathor, goddess of love and beauty. But here, she is not regal or untouchable. She is tender, laughing. You can almost hear it. Across from her, a falcon-headed figure, Horus stands not in battle, but leaning slightly forward, arms crossed over his chest in rest. His eyes are closed, a moment of divine peace. There is something deeply human about it all. These gods do not demand fear. They do not tower above you. They sit beside you, laugh with you, watch you quietly from the walls as if to say, yes, you, even now, especially now. The room feels timeless, not in the way clocks stop, but in the way feelings linger. Candlelight plays against the walls like memories flickering through consciousness. You see another figure, Osiris, not in judgment, but seated calmly with a lotus blooming from his hand. His face is peaceful, like someone who knows the end is never really the end. You walk a little farther and find a carving of a woman pouring water from a tall vessel into the earth. The water curves downward like a ribbon, feeding a line of growing papyrus. Above her head, a feather, Mahat, the goddess of balance. Her carved eyes meet yours, not stern, not soft, just knowing. You exhale slowly, placing one hand over your chest. Something inside you feels steadier, like a scale has quietly tipped back into balance. You return to the basin of sand in the center of the room. A single candle stands at its heart, taller than the others, its flame unwavering. You lower yourself to sit cross-legged before it, palms resting gently on your knees, and simply watch the flame. It doesn't move much. It pulses in and out, like breathing, not fire in the wild way you know it. This one is calm, contained, a companion. You stare into it, and slowly, the flame begins to reflect something deeper than light. It's not hypnotic. It's familiar, the way you used to stare into the fire as a child, or the way you looked at sunlight through water, or your own eyes in the mirror. When no one else was looking, your breath slows again, not because you try to sow it, but because the flame seems to breathe for you now. You wonder, how many people have sat here, have watched this light, have asked it silent questions, have been answered not in words, but in peace. You close your eyes, and the light continues behind your lids, a warmth in your chest, a golden flicker just beneath the ribs. You feel as if the candle has passed something to you, a knowing, a steadiness, a sense that you're not alone, not lost, not broken. And then, a soft laugh bubbles up inside you, a quiet joy. You don't even know why. But the flame hears it and flickers gently, like a friend who nods to us when they don't need to say a word. You open your eyes and watch the flame one more moment, and you whisper, just once, thank you. The flame bows slightly. The air changes as you leave the candlelit chamber, not dramatically, gently, like someone opening a window in a room out you didn't know was sealed. You don't notice it all at once, but then a scent drifts past you, soft, golden, familiar. the scent of something sacred, though you've never smelled it before, a curl of incense, a hint of warm oil, the memory of a flower you've never held. You follow it instinctively, as if it were a thread through the dark. The corridor opens into a narrow antechamber where the walls are lined with shelves, but they are not empty. On each rests a small offering, a date, a ring, a folded cloth, a dried blossom, a tiny stone carved into a falcon. Nothing expensive, nothing grand, but in each one feels deliberate, as if it was placed there with great care and quiet love. You lean in toward one, a single pomegranate seed resting in a delicate shell. It's hard to say why it moves you, but it does. A part of you recognizes this, the way something small can carry so much meaning. The scent grows stronger the deeper you go. Richer now? Frankincense. Maybe, or something older, more tender. You notice it's not just scent, but sensation. The air has texture here, a thickness, not heavy, but full. You inhale again, and it feels like the breath goes somewhere beyond your lungs, as though it lights something in your chest. Even the silence here feels sweeter. This isn't the silence of emptiness, it's the hush of reverence. The quiet we make when we hand someone a gift and step back, hoping they understand. You realize these aren't offerings left to impress, they're left to connect. Each one is a whispered prayer without sound, and now, as you walk among them, their meaning rises not as words, but as warmth. You aren't just seeing the offerings, you are walking through gratitude itself. The room opens wider, revealing a raised stone table at the center, an altar, though it feels less like a monument and more like a kitchen table left out under the stars. Upon it are more offerings, figs split open to show their deep red centers, bread with golden crusts dusted with seeds, bowls of honey shimmering amber in the low light. None of it is fresh, and yet none of it has spoiled. Time doesn't spoil things here, it just preserves what matters. You walk slowly around the table. The scent of the honey alone makes your knees want to bend. Sweetness in its purest form, a note of sunlight that somehow survived the night. A small goblet rests nearby, half filled with dark wine. The surface hasn't rippled in who knows how long. You find yourself wondering who poured it, when, and for whom. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's enough that the act of pouring was the offering, that someone, at some point in time, opened their hands and said, "Here, take this." You feel a sudden urge to add something, but you've brought nothing with you, no object, no gift, and yet, as you reach instinctively into the folds of your robe, you find something in your palm. You didn't place it there. You didn't see it before, but there it is, a single small feather. It's soft, weightless, pale gold in the candlelight. You smile. Of course, the gods ask for nothing except what you already carry. You step toward the altar, bow your head, and lay the feather next to the bread. It doesn't make a sound, but somehow, the whole room exhales. You feel it like invisible arms opening to embrace you. Even the gods, you think, can feel lonely. And sometimes, a small feather is enough to remind them they're not. You sit beside the altar now, your body quiet, your spirit deeply still. The scent of offering floats gently around you, incense curling in invisible spirals. You breathe it in and out like a rhythm, a silent chant without words. You watch the honey glisten in its bowl, catching the candlelight like molten gold. The figs gleam with dark sweetness. The bread looks warm enough to tear, but you don't touch it. You don't need to. Just being near it is enough. Somewhere, deep in the architecture of your chest, you feel a shift, a softening, an opening. You think about the people who once gathered here, not just priests, but mothers, daughters, young boys learning how to place fruit on a plate, elders with trembling hands pouring wine with reverence. Maybe someone once wept beside this table. Maybe someone once laughed. The room feels like it remembers both equally, and you, sitting here now, are not an intruder. You are a continuation. The room doesn't ask you to pray, or bow, or explain. It simply holds you in a way that makes you want to give something back, even if it's just your breath. So you close your eyes, and with your next exhale, you imagine offering it, your breath, your presence, your quiet, and the moment you do, something inside you blooms, a warmth behind your ribs, not dramatic, not dazzling, just real. You open your eyes and find that the candle near the altar has burned down slightly, but it still glows. Just as steady, you rise slowly, your joints fluid, your steps light, and as you turn to leave the room, you glance one more time at the altar where your feather once was. There is now a tiny folded blossom. You smile. The gods do not forget, and neither will you. You leave behind the softened glow of the offering chamber and step into a corridor that immediately feels different. The air changes first, not in temperature, but in weight, in presence. It feels like standing inside a sound you cannot hear, like the moment before thunder speaks, or just after a bell has stopped ringing. There's a thickness here, not oppressive, but magnetic, drawing your attention inward. The floor beneath your feet begins to change texture, subtly at first, then unmistakably. Where it was once polished and ceremonial, it is now marked with shallow ridges and grooves, not carved for decoration, but designed to carry something unseen. With each step, the ground vibrates faintly, not with noise, but with frequency, a rhythm that finds its way into your ankles, then up through your legs, until your whole body is subtly moving with it. You pause and inhale slowly, and as the breath settles, you realize your chest has begun to match the rhythm of the ground. There's something alive in the stone, something ancient that pulses not with blood, but with memory. The corridor curves ahead, and as you follow its gentle bend, your footsteps instinctively slow, your mind softens, and your awareness sharpens. You are no longer just walking through space. You are entering a field, a current, a breath that belongs to the temple itself. The walls are bare now, but they shimmer slightly in the low torchlight, their surface rippling like the surface of still water touched by a breeze. This is not decoration, this is resonance. And as you pass deeper into the passage, you feel the space beginning to listen to you. The corridor narrows once more before opening suddenly into a domed chamber, circular and smooth, with no altar, no throne, no statues of gods, but in the center is a single stone platform, low and wide, surrounded by concentric rings carved directly into the floor. The room is quiet in the truest sense, not just empty of sound, but humming with an inaudible presence, the kind of stillness that seems to press gently against your skin. You walk forward slowly, drawn not by sight, but by sensation, and the moment your foot steps onto the first ring of stone, you feel it, a shift, not external, internal, a subtle turning in your body, like your organs rearranging themselves to match a deeper order. You continue forward, spiraling inward across each carved ring, and with each step the sensation deepens. as if your cells are adjusting to a frequency that predates language. The carvings aren't decorative, they are directional. They channel something invisible, something vibrational, not to impress the eye, but to tune the body. By the time you reach the center platform, your breath is no longer your own. It is shared, it is patterned, it is ancient. You kneel without deciding to, not in submission, but in attunement. Placing both palms on the stone, the moment your skin touches it, your pulse and the temples meet. There is no shock, no jolt, only agreement, as if the temple has been humming this tone for thousands of years. And tonight, you finally remembered how to join in. You close your eyes and feel it move through you, not just the vibration, but the meaning behind it. This rhythm is the speech of the gods, not with words, but with waves. It speaks of balance, of return, of how everything alive beats, breathes, and turns in time with something larger. And now you do too, with your eyes closed and your hands resting gently on the stone. You stop trying to understand. There is no need. Understanding is not what this space requires. Only presence, only openness. The longer you stay, the more deeply you begin to feel that this rhythm beneath you, this unseen song, is not something that happens in the room. It is the room. It is the purpose of the chamber, the blueprint of its stones, the reason the temple exists at all, and it has no interest in impressing you. It simply continues, eternal and steady, like the Nile, like breath, like the stars circling above, without ever asking to be watched. You shift slightly and lie back on the platform, eyes still closed, palms resting over your heart. The stone beneath you is warm now, not hot, but generous, as if it has noticed your willingness and offers you comfort in return. The vibration becomes subtler still, no longer a sensation, but a knowing. You begin to realize that this is not something you are sensing, it is something you are. You have always had this rhythm within you. The temple has not given you anything new. It has only helped you remember what was already there. You think of the word pulse and realize how many meanings it holds. Not just the heartbeat, not just vibration, but life itself, signal, intention, will. You let out a long breath, and the room seems to sigh with you. You are not a visitor here. You are not a student, or a worshiper, or even a guest. You are a tuning fork finally struck, a vessel finally filled, a note that has finally but found the key it was written in. The gods are not watching. They are not waiting. They are within the pulse, and you are within them. You stay for a while longer, not thinking, not drifting, just resting inside the deepest sound that never needed to be heard. You rise slowly from the center of the pulsing stone, as if waking from the kind of rest that doesn't belong to sleep, but to alignment. The rhythm remains in your chest, steady and quiet, a companion rather than an echo. The chamber releases you gently, and you move once again through a narrow hallway, this one softer than the others, both in sound and in feeling. The air changes here, scented faintly with crushed petals and temple oil, the kind used not for ritual grandeur, but for healing, for comfort, for presence. The light is dim but warm, spilling in through slits in the ceiling like golden thread. The walls, curved and smooth, are not covered in carvings, but woven with texture. Linen drapes hang in gentle folds, moving ever so slightly as you pass. You reach out to touch one, and it brushes your fingers like water, cool and fragrant, with the scent of rose and sweet almond. You realize you're not just walking into another room, You're entering a presence so vast and steady, it doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. And it welcomes you not with ceremony, but with stillness. You pause beneath a low arch where a tall clay vessel rests beside a small stool. Upon it lies a comb carved of ivory and inlaid with lapis. It has been used. A single strand of hair, dark and fine, still clings to one of its teeth. You don't feel like an intruder. You feel like someone returning to a space that never forgot your shape. The corridor opens, and you understand that you've stepped into the domain of the women of the temple, not the distant queens of myth or the painted priestesses of murals, but the real ones, the quiet ones, the steady ones, who held the breath of the gods in their palms and never needed to raise their voices to be heard. Here, you begin to feel that power, not loud, not sharp, but profound. The room widens gently, more sanctuary than hall, and at its center stands a group of figures, cloaked in white linen from shoulder to toe. Their faces are soft with age and wisdom, not marked by time, but shaped by devotion. They move slowly, their gestures measured and deliberate, not because they are bound by rules, but because every movement carries meaning. You watch from a distance, not hiding, not announcing yourself, just being. One of them stands beside a basin, pouring water from a long-necked jar into a shallow dish of copper. The water doesn't splash, it glides. She turns the vessel with a gentle tilt, and as the water pools in the dish, it catches the light in such a way that you feel your own face reflected in it. Though you haven't moved, another woman kneels at a small altar, placing something wrapped in cloth beneath the carved hands of a goddess figure. Her head is bowed, not in submission, but in intimacy. You recognize the statue as Isis wings folded close to her body, gaze both fierce and tender. The woman lingers for a moment longer, whispering words too soft to carry, and the statue seems to listen, not as stone, but as presence. You watch a third priestess walk the room in slow circles, her arms stretched slightly forward, palms open. She carries nothing, she gathers nothing, and yet the space around her seems to glow. As she walks, the faintest bells chime at her ankles, not bright, not ringing, but murmuring like a breeze through hollow reeds. You begin to understand that this space is not about teaching or impressing or commanding. It is about holding. These women do not lead by force. They hold the current. They keep the rhythm. They pour balance into the bones of the temple, and you, standing among them, begin to feel your own balance return, not because you've been corrected, but because you've been witnessed, silently, fully, without judgment. You turn and find yourself facing a raised dais at the far end of the room. Upon it sits a single, high-backed seat, not a throne, not ornate, but crafted of polished stone and draped in soft linen. Behind it, a large panel of woven papyrus hangs, painted with a simple symbol, the feather of Ma'at, glowing faintly in ochre and white. The chair is empty, but its presence fills the room. You step forward slowly, drawn by something you can't quite name, not curiosity, not reverence, recognition. When you reach the base of the platform, you feel a stillness so deep you hesitate to move further, not from fear, but because stillness itself becomes sacred here. A voice does not speak, but something in the room answers a question you haven't asked. The seat is not for a ruler, it is for a presence, and tonight it is yours. You ascend the few steps slowly, your hands grazing the smooth stone rail as you rise. When you sit, the entire room shifts not in light or sound, but in feeling. The women below do not kneel, do not pause, do not turn to look. They simply continue, their movements now aligned with your breath, your stillness, your presence. You are not commanding them, you are reflecting them. The seat beneath you is firm but gentle, cool but not cold. You place your palms on your knees, lift your spine, and look ahead not to rule, but to hold. You realize, with a quiet certainty, that this is what the queens of Egypt once knew, that power does not come from being above, but from being rooted, anchored, still. The priestesses continue their work. The water flows, the bells murmur, and in the silence of this sacred space, you feel something shift within your own center. Not ambition, not pride, alignment. Your breath deepens, your shoulders soften, and the crown that never touches your head settles quietly into your chest. You are not here to be worshipped. You are here to remember, to return, and in doing so, that you carry the weight of no kingdom, only the light of a presence that has always been yours. You descend from the seat slowly, not as someone stepping down from power, but as someone carrying something sacred inside, something newly remembered and not meant to be spoken aloud. The chamber narrows again, and the scent of herbs and light oils returns, joined now by something else, an aroma of baked grain, ripe fruit, honey warming in clay, and something green and fresh, like crushed fig leaves or young papyrus. The corridor opens into a courtyard, bathed in moonlight, so pure it feels like glass stretched across the stone. A long, low table, carved directly into the ground, stands at the center, its edges shaped with delicate waves, not to display wealth, but to suggest water, generosity, motion around it. Wide cushions of woven flax are arranged in a gentle circle. You step closer and see the offerings already laid out, bowls of olives slick with golden oil, thin slices of date bread dusted with sesame, figs split open like blossoms, cheese wrapped in vine leaves, small clay dishes filled with lentils and honeyed nuts. None of it is heaped. Every piece is placed with deliberate beauty, spaced in balance, like a mosaic of sustenance. A jug of wine rests nearby, its spout damp, its body warm, as if it has only just been poured. And yet there is no one here, no voices, no movement. The table has been set for guests who do not arrive in form. You understand now what this space is. It is not a place to eat. It is a space to commune with what you cannot see but can almost feel, brushing just beyond the veil. You step toward one of the cushions and lower yourself slowly. The stone beneath you is warm, holding the last of the day's sun, and the scent of the food rises gently in the cool night air. You place your palms on your knees. Take a breath and listen not for sound, but for presence. As the air settles around you, the silence becomes textured again, not empty, not hollow, but full of breath that is not yours. Attention that does not intrude. Company that does not crowd. You do not feel watched, you feel accompanied. It is the feeling of someone sitting just beyond your peripheral vision, close enough that their warmth brushes against your shoulder, distant enough that no words are needed. You reach slowly toward a bowl of dates and take one in your hand, not to eat, but to hold. Its skin is soft, the flesh rich with stored sun, and as you rest it in your palm, it becomes something else, a reminder that this moment, like the fruit, has been growing for a long time, perhaps the thousands of years. You think of the people who once gathered in courtyards like this, not to feast in celebration, but to offer food to the divine, to share sustenance as a gesture, not of hunger, but of reverence, a form of prayer too soft to name. You close your eyes and imagine the presence around you growing clearer, not with sound or shape, but with steadiness. You do not need to imagine gods descending, wings unfolding, or light flaring. Their nearness is quieter, more intimate. They are not arriving. They have been here all along. Your breath slows as you place the date back in the bowl. It does not matter whether it is eaten. It matters that it was offered. A gesture is enough. An opening is enough. You lift your face toward the stars, and the sky does not answer, but it does not need to. The moonlight resting on your skin is response enough. Time slows in the courtyard. The shadows soften. The air cools just enough to remind you that the night is not infinite, that this sacred hush will not last forever, but for now. It holds you. You remain seated, hands resting in your lap, surrounded by food not meant to feed the body, but the spirit, and yet your body relaxes more deeply than it has in days. The ache in your shoulders releases. The small tension behind your eyes eases. You feel yourself drop gently into stillness. A stillness made possible not by effort, but by invitation. There is a rhythm here too, not a beat, not a sound, but a sequence of presence. Something placed, something offered, something received. You watch the candle flames around the edge of the courtyard lean ever so slightly, as if drawn toward the center of the table. Even fire, it seems, wishes to gather here. You place one hand lightly on the stone beside you and feel its warmth returning your touch. You are not alone at this table, and though no one speaks, no one moves, the feast continues not in the taking, but in the giving. The gifts here are subtle stillness, quiet, the willingness to offer what you carry without needing it. Scene. You exhale slowly and imagine yourself placing something on the table, not an object, not even a thought, but a part of yourself you've kept guarded. Maybe it's sorrow, maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's a question. You let it rest there without explanation, and the space accepts it without response. Because here, being received is enough. You rise slowly, hands light, body softened. You glance once more at the bowls of food, the empty cushions, the wine jug, the stars above. You do not take anything with you. You leave something behind. And as you walk away, you feel lighter, not because you've lost something, but because you finally allowed it to be shared. The courtyard before you is bathed in shadow, save for a single flame that burns brightly at the far end. It flickers and twists, as if caught in an eternal dance with the air around it. You approach slowly, not out of reverence for the fire itself, but for what it represents. The flame is not just heat. It is not simply light. It is the very essence of transformation, the sacred meeting point of the physical and spiritual. As you draw nearer, you feel the warmth of it, but not as you would feel the warmth of a bonfire or hearth. It's deeper, it's quieter, a warmth that stirs something within you rather than outside. You stop at the edge of the firelight, the shadows of the surrounding walls stretching far into the distance. You do not need to speak. You are not here to ask questions. The flame does not burn with urgency. It burns with patience, with presence. It has been here far longer than you, and it will remain long after you have left. The fire does not need to answer you. It simply holds space for the questions you bring it without judgment, without fear, without change. You stand in its glow and exhale deeply. For a moment, you wonder if it's the flame itself or your own spirit that is slowly unwinding. You wait, your breath matching the rhythm of the fire, and you realize that it's not about receiving answers. It's about the act of listening, of offering your thoughts to the flame and letting them rise in its heat, only to fade, released and transformed, for here, in the presence of the eternal flame, there is no need for spoken wisdom. There is only the gentle act of surrender, the surrender of needing to understand, the surrender of grasping. Here, in the quiet of this ancient light, you are not expected to know. You are simply invited to be. You take a seat beside the fire, crossing your legs and leaning forward slightly, allowing the warmth of the flame to caress your skin, as if the fire itself is a living being, alive with ancient stories and forgotten knowledge. The heat isn't harsh, but a gentle reminder of life, of motion, of cycles that have been turning long before you and will continue long after. The shadows dance across your face, and for a moment, you close your eyes, letting the flickering light illuminate the inside of your eyelids. There's no rush here, no push to move forward, no need to find the next step. The flame holds you in its steady pulse, the breath of the world in every flicker and pop of its light. As you sit in the glow, you feel something deep within your chest, a sense of stillness that spreads outward from your heart, reaching into your fingertips, your toes, your neck. The fire doesn't demand anything from you. It asks for nothing. Yet everything is laid bare before it in this moment. You understand. The flame is a mirror. It holds space for everything you are, everything you have been, and everything you might be. There's no judgment in its light, no expectation in its heat. It simply waits for you to join it, to rest with it, to exist within its warmth without the pressure of answers. You realize then that the flame doesn't listen because it is waiting for your questions to be answered. It listens because it is the space where questions, too, can exist without needing to be solved. And in that stillness, you find peace not because you've arrived at the right answers, but because the questions no longer need to weigh you down. The night deepens, but the flame before you does not flicker or dim. It simply persists. An unwavering light that asks nothing of you except to be present. You lean closer, the firelight making shadows of your features. And for a moment, you wonder how many souls have sat in this same spot, gazing into the same flame, contemplating the same questions. How many have found comfort in its warmth? In its quiet presence, the flame, you realize, is timeless. It does not age or change, not in the way you understand time. It simply is, and so too are you. You think about the divine, about gods, and about the ancient stories that have echoed through time. You understand now that these stories, too, are like the flame enduring, ever present, alive in their own way. The gods you've encountered tonight are not distant. They are woven into the rhythm of life. In every breath, in every heartbeat, in the fire that burns silently in the center of this sacred space, the flame doesn't offer you an answer. It simply offers itself. And in that offering, it invites you to sit in its presence, to reflect, to be. You sit for as long as you need, allowing the fire's quiet gaze to steady your thoughts, to calm the currents of your mind. The flame remains constant, a beacon of peace and transformation. You rise slowly, turning your back on the fire, not with reluctance, but with reverence, knowing that the flame will remain even when you are gone. It doesn't need you to stay. It doesn't need you to speak. It only needs you to be present, and for that, you are forever grateful. You step away from the flame, your body light, your mind clearer than it has been in a long time. The air feels different now, less like a burden and more like a current, soft, steady, alive. You walk slowly, as though each step is part of a journey you've only just begun. Yet I already feel you've been on for ages. You pass through a series of smaller chambers, their walls now covered in intricate tapestries, not with gods or kings, but with abstract designs, geometries that circle inward, patterns that seem to repeat themselves endlessly. You don't try to decipher them. You don't need to. The patterns are enough simply to witness. They do not require analysis. They simply exist. You move through them, past them, each room feeling like a moment caught between seconds, a breath held in time's endless tide. And then, ahead of you, the final doorway appears. It's not large, not imposing, just an archway draped with thick, woven fabric. It looks simple, but you know better now. Simplicity does not equal emptiness. It simply means that what's important has been left for you to discover. You stop before the door, your hand hovering near the fabric, a deep, comforting stillness right around you, and for a moment, you stand completely still, breathing with the space. The fabric parts as if it senses your presence, and you pass through it without a sound, entering the final space of this sacred journey inside. The room is unlike any other you've encountered. It is not just a room, it is the heart of the temple itself. The floor is made of polished stone, dark and deep, reflecting the room above, but there is no ceiling. Instead, the stars themselves appear to hang low above you, stretching out in all directions, as though you are standing under the sky. But without walls to define it, the stars do not twinkle, nor do they shimmer. They are still, fixed, endless, and in the center of this vastness, a large stone altar rests, simple, unadorned, yet it holds an aura of such presence that it feels as though all the worlds before and after have been shaped around it. You approach it slowly, each step reverent. As you draw closer, you feel the air around you shifting once again, not with wind or change, but with recognition. The stones here are not just stones, they are memory, and they remember you. You reach the altar and place your palms on it, feeling the smooth, cool surface beneath your fingers. For a moment, there is no sound, no movement, no thought, just the deep, steady pulse of the temple of life itself vibrating through the stone. You close your eyes and breathe deeply as the pulse rises and falls in sync with your own heartbeat. Time, once again, ceases to matter. The moment folds inward, as though everything has come to this point, not by accident, but by design. And you realize, in the stillness, that you are not outside of time. You are within it, folded gently into its infinite embrace. You are part of this sacred rhythm, this eternal pulse. There is no end here, only this steady moment, only this breath, only this now. And as you inhale again, deeper this time, you feel the full weight of peace settle in your chest. You are home. You stay at the altar for what feels like an age, but when you open your eyes, you find that nothing has changed. The stars are still fixed above you, the altar still cool and steady beneath your hands. You stand slowly, as if reluctant to leave, but knowing that the peace you found here is not something to be clung to. It is something to be carried with you, a thread woven into the very fabric of your being as you turn to leave. You take one last look at the stars above, and for the first time, you see them clearly, not as distant pinpricks of light, but as part of you, part of the very air you breathe, part of this moment you have entered. You step back through the fabric and into the temple's winding corridors, and the quiet pulse of the temple follows you, not as a sound, but as a feeling steady, familiar, eternal. You realize, as you walk, that the journey you've just taken was never about going somewhere. It was about remembering where you've always been. The temple does not exist in stone, nor in earth. It exists within you, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every moment you choose to listen. You walk onward, but the stillness stays with you, and the rhythm you've heard, the pulse of the gods, echoes in your chest as you leave the temple behind, not because you have to, but because you are already home. As you step out of the temple's sacred embrace, a gentle breeze stirs around you, like a soft exhale from the earth itself. The air is cool, and for the first time, you feel the night surrounding you in its full presence, not cold, not harsh, but steady and familiar, as if the wind is whispering the very essence of peace into your ears. You close your eyes, letting the wind wash over your face, your hair, your skin, like a quiet reminder that the journey you've experienced through stone, through memory, through time is not bound to a single place. It flows with you, as natural as the breath you take, the desert air. Once dry and distant, now feels like an old companion, gentle and unhurried. The rustle of distant leaves, the soft murmur of wind passing over the stones, all sound like a lullaby, soothing your thoughts, calming the weight of your chest. You take a slow, deep breath, inhaling the scent of the earth beneath you, the same earth that has watched over the temple for millennia, the same wind that has carried the whispers of the ancients across time. Everything is as it should be, and for this moment, you are at peace. There is no rush, no place to be, no path to follow. The rhythm of the world moves with you, carrying the memory of the temple, of the gods, of the eternal pulse that resides in all things. And as the night stretches on, you feel the space between your breaths becoming a place of rest, a place of quiet where everything flows and nothing needs to be fixed or changed. The world continues on, just as it always has. But now, you walk with it, quietly and without expectation, carried by the rhythm of life, like the wind that whispers its stories into the night.